Hare Krishna. We're starting a series of discussions or readings from the Vanipedia category called Epidemics. And we will look into what Srila Prabhupada said about epidemics, earthquakes, this kind of natural catastrophes. And try to discuss, as we said before, from different angles of vision. We're checking the keys in the door. Lock the door, please. I don't see it here.
It's already locked.
It's not, the key is not there.
Yes,
So, okay, it's here. Thank you. When there is an epidemic disease, this is from the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, text 14. When there is an epidemic disease, an antiseptic vaccine protects a person from the attack of such an epidemic. Similarly, food offered to Lord Vishnu and then taken by us makes us sufficiently resistant to material affection, and one who is accustomed to this practice is called a devotee of the Lord. Okay. Close the window, this window. Thank you. So now, some people say that the virus is in the vaccine, and that vaccine is meant to kill people massively. So some people say this, but this is like generally you get a vaccine and you get protected, so you get a little bit of this virus or something. You get a little bit of this so that the body starts to actually protect itself, creates these protective elements. Now Srila Prabhupada compares prasadam, food that is offered to Lord Vishnu or Krishna, that makes us resistant to material affection. It means it purifies us so much that we can become resistant to material affection and material consciousness. From the first canto, kings and administrators come into power without knowledge and responsibility. And such foolish administrators live like animals for the sake of their own personal interest. The result is that the whole atmosphere becomes surcharged with anarchy and vicious elements. Nepotism, bribery, cheating, aggression, and therefore famine, epidemic, war, and similar other disturbing features become prominent in human society. So here we see that why this like famine, epidemic, war, and other disturbing things come about, why they appear. Because of bribery, cheating, aggression, nepotism. Do you know what is nepotism? Nepotism means when you are partial towards your family members or friends. So if you are in charge of law, then you are lenient with them and you are strict with others, but because they are your friends or your relatives, then you actually are lenient. You just you don't punish them. You just tolerate their wrongdoings. So, epidemic is a reaction to something, to some activities. Then we go to the also another verse from the purport from the Bhagavatam. Material advancement of civilization Material advancement of civilization means advancement of the reactions of the threefold miseries due to celestial influence, earthly reactions, and bodily or mental pains. By the celestial influence of the stars, there are many calamities like excessive heat, cold, rains or no rains. And the after effects are famine, disease and epidemic. No one can escape the threefold miseries of materialistic life, namely miseries pertaining to the body and mind, miseries pertaining to the difficulties imposed by society, community, nation and other living entities, and miseries afflicted upon us by natural disturbances from earthquakes, famines, droughts, floods, epidemics, and so on. One politician has remarked that Krishna consciousness, now there is, here is described a different kind of epidemics. One politician has remarked that the Krishna consciousness movement is spreading like an epidemic and that if not checked immediately, within 10 years it may capture governmental power. There is, of course, such potency in the Krishna consciousness movement. So this is purport to the second canto. So Srila Prabhupada says that in this movement there is a potency to take up governmental power. There was one devotee who was, how do you say?
Tulsi Gabbar.
What?
Tulsi Gabbar. She is trying to...
No, that was before, during Prabhupada's time. Balavanta Prabhu, he was running for a mayor of Atlanta in Georgia, mayor of the city, and he started a political party called In God We Trust. And Prabhupada gave him many instructions, and Prabhupada encouraged him to do this for some time. And I met that devotee and I asked him, does he have more instructions on how to run a political party by Srila Prabhupada? And he said, yes, I have. So I wanted to interview him. About this, but somehow we didn't meet again. We met only once. We didn't meet again. But in the letters, there is instructions how to run the political party, and ultimately Srila Prabhupada told him to stop because he started to ask ISKCON for money so he can run this campaign, and Prabhupada said if you cannot finance it yourself, then you should stop it, if you cannot finance it. And he's a quite prominent lawyer in America, I think to this day. Maybe he's now, I don't know how old, maybe 70 years old. So Srila Prabhupada did encourage devotees to go into the political arena. Krishna consciousness is the antiseptic measure. Suppose there is some epidemic in the city and one has taken the antiseptic vaccine of measure. He is not affected. Similarly, this Krishna consciousness is the antiseptic method to become free from the contamination of this material world. So, lipyate na sapapena, he is not affected by the counteraction or contamination of this material world. This is from a lecture in New York in '66. One politician in USA, he has remarked that this Krishna consciousness movement is increasing like an epidemic. He has said that. And if we do not check it, one day it may take our government. So actually, I think that this golden age that is predicted cannot happen if the leadership positions are not taken by devotees. It will not happen because leaders will not encourage following the principles of Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada further explains, if the mass of people takes to Krishna consciousness, then they will take over government. The devotees can take over government. He says that is a fact. The world becomes overburdened. Bhuva. It is said, Bharavattaranyanye bhuvo nava ivodadhau. Bhuva, this world becomes overburdened by people. Overburdened, as soon as it becomes overburdened, there must be a war, pestilence, famine, epidemic, and finish. This is natural, overburdened, nature's law. I remember there was a very virulent, like virus, virulent type of plague epidemic in 1898. So Kolkata became devastated. All people practically left Kolkata. Daily hundreds and hundreds of people were dying. I was 1 year old or 1.5 years old at that time. I have seen what was happening. There was plague epidemic. Later on, I heard from my parents